Let's talk about your expectations, your great expectations as a homeschool mom, your frustrations, your big emotions, and your unrealistic expectations. If we haven't met, I'm Teresa Wiedrich. I'm the certified life coach and homeschool mentor found here in the Homeschool Mama Support Group on Facebook. Also, you can find me on my website, www.capturingthecharmedlife.com. I'm here to help support you shed what's not working so you can show up in your homeschool and your mom life more authentically, confidently, and purposefully. And I say that on repeat because I want the message to go out. You can homeschool. You can live your homeschool mom life authentically, confidently, and purposefully. If we haven't met, I would love to hear who you are. Put your name down below. Let me know who's listening or who's watching, and let me know who you're homeschooling. I'd love to hear about your homeschool kids too. This week on the podcast, I'm discussing the 16 self-compassion strategies that you can use as a homeschool mom. You can find my podcast on Apple, Spotify, all the things. But the one thing that I learned as a homeschool mom is that we need to address our big emotions. We need to not stuff them. We need to not pretend that they're not there. We need to come up with a plan for them because they will be experienced on repeat. In fact, coincidentally, I just had a conversation over on Instagram Live with a gal named Rebecca Paisley. She is a hormone coach, and we were talking all about the red tent, PMS, perimenopause, all the things. And she said, as I had also shared, that our family has been like, you're going to talk about what? You're going to talk about, wait, what? Live? Okay. Really? Yes. So it turns out, I know that probably everyone knows this, but this thing called the cycle has been a thing for as long as females have been a thing. And this definitely has to be normalized. And it has consequence in our homeschool lives. Can I hear an amen? For years, my kids knew that I was about to have my cycle or my period because I bought Lay's potato chips and chocolate peanut M&Ms or peanut M&M. Anyways, lots of M&Ms. And it's a thing. We have to actually look at our cycle and say, how is it affecting us? Is there something we can do to track it, to pay attention, to maybe enable nutrition and other habits that will actually help us? Because they will definitely play a part in our big emotions. As you know, and I didn't need to say, but I had to tie it in because it is actually part of this conversation about addressing our frustration, our big emotions, and the self-compassion strategies that I share on the Homeschool Mama Self-Care Podcast today. So here in the Facebook group, the Homeschool Mama Support Group, I am offering a Q&A every Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you've got questions, throw them in the comment section down below, and I'm happy to address them. Of course, I really do believe that you will have a more effective answer if you join me in a conversation. So if you'd like to do that, when you're ready to do that, just ask me for a booking link and we can have a chat. There is also a paid Homeschool Mama support group on Patreon, and in this upcoming workshop, we're going to be talking about Enneagram for homeschool moms. It's a type of personality profiling system that helps us understand our core motivations and also the core motivations of the people in our family, which, as you can imagine, is a rather useful tool to help understand others, what their needs are, how they're motivated, how they show up in a stress space, also how they show up in their strong space. So join me on Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the Patreon Homeschool Mama Support Group. We're going to talk about all things Enneagram. And if you don't know your Enneagram type, you probably will have a hunch by the end of our hour workshop together. I'm also offering this week a couple of things I've been putting out into the online world. I have a thought care checklist for homeschool moms. It is the very first resource I ever created for homeschool moms to help us clarify what's really going on in there, especially at our most triggered, frustrated moments. So if you'd like the thought care checklist, please let me know. And if you're a first-year homeschool mom or you're considering homeschooling, tomorrow, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've created space just for you to have a conversation. We can have our first meet and greet. You can ask me whatever questions that pertain to you helping to determine whether you want to do this homeschool thing, or also if you have, so unless of course the internet goes out, because then I can't see you. I would love to hear who is here. So if you don't mind putting a little bit about you, if we haven't already met, where you are in the world, who you're homeschooling, I'd love to hear about you. My goal in this group is to get behind a screen. If you could actually join me for a chit chat every Tuesday afternoon, that'd be cool too. I'm in the Kootenays, British Columbia, Canada. Might be a long drive. So that's why I'm here in the Facebook group. So here is the question that someone had shared with me, Ms. Anonymous, we're going to call her. And I asked you yesterday, do you have wisdom for this homeschool mama's question? Because the one thing I've learned is that we all do have some remarkable wisdom, collective wisdom. And if you have any thoughts, you want to add anything more, you're welcome to throw your thoughts in that post from yesterday. So here's her question. She said, in a nutshell, I want to know how to calm my emotions when things get rough. I'm a homeschool mom of 4. My eldest graduated this year and my next has a plan. My 2 younger kids are 14 and 11 and have been hanging on for the ride. This year I'm focusing on them and need some reassurance that I truly am the best for them. We are a neurodivergent household, and that being said, this journey has been interesting at best and downright hairy at times. I've got a little bit of high expectations mixed with frustration when my plans don't go well. I want some clarification about what I should focus on and what I should be willing to let go. So much to speak to. First of all, that sounds like my kids' spacing. I had 4 kids and very similar. Oldest graduated. My next is a couple years younger, then 3 years younger, then almost 3.5 years younger, which means I kept putting a little bit more space between them for comfortable reasons. Anyways, so we have similar spacing. So I do recall that like it was yesterday, although it wasn't, it feels like it was. And you are in this phase of, as a mom, I'm assuming you're in this phase of recognizing, especially when the first launches, that things are changing, and man, do things change fast after that first one graduates. So that is a big shift for you, what's going on there. And I hear you shifting your energy from your oldest 2 kids to your youngest 2. I know this from experience too. As a homeschool mom, you tend to engage the first child or 2, depending on how many you have, as the primary homeschool energy, the primary homeschool focus. And by the time my 4th was probably 5 or something, I realized that there are all sorts of things that I did with my firstborn that I didn't do with my youngest, that I forgot to do with my youngest because I was so busy. But he was super benefited because he was in a homeschool. He was constantly engaged with a mother that's fully engaged. There's learning opportunities everywhere, and he's getting interesting conversation and interesting learning things happening all around him all the time. So I don't think he really missed out, actually. I think he probably got the strongest education out of everybody. But it's interesting. You're in that phase where one has launched, one's about to, and you're shifting your focus towards your 2 younger kids. If I was in a coaching conversation, I would ask you more about, what are you doing well in your homeschool? What's working? What's not working? And specifically for you, I would ask you, tell me how you will know that you are doing the best for them. What would you say your actual rubric is? How will you determine that you do indeed know that you have done the right by them, the best by them? In my experience coaching, when people come to chat with me, the conversation point, the thing that you're coming to chat with me about, there's like 3 to 12, a lot more layers of things going on than just what you're sharing up front. And so over the course of 8 to 12 sessions, we'll typically have an 8 to 12 session course, and we will go much deeper into what those challenges are. You'll get a whole lot clearer. As you said, you want some more clarification about what you should focus on, and you'll get a whole lot more clarification on what your challenges are, and also unravel a lot of them. So I would really, response to what you said, this year I'm focusing on the younger kids, excuse me, and I need some reassurance that I truly am the best for them. I would like to ask more about, tell me how you will know that you are the best for your kids. I just had a recorded conversation of a podcast guest who, her and I were just chatting over there in Studio C, my closet. And she was saying that she has come to understand in the first few years of her homeschool that she is the best person for her children as a homeschool mom. So that might be valuable to listen to that conversation. But again, I invite you to have a one-on-one conversation with me. So you shared that you have been hanging on, or that the 14 and 11-year-old have been hanging on for the ride, and that you would like to know how to calm your emotions when things get rough. In all the things that I've learned over the course of time about my big emotions, it is that I can't do anything with them, that I actually can only acknowledge them, listen to them, and be along for their ride when I'm accepting of my humanness, that I do indeed have big emotions, that they don't always get timed well in my life. Like, when are they ever timed well? And also that the people in my family have big emotions, and they don't always time their big emotions around my schedule either. When I'm living in acceptance to that, then I can live in acceptance to the messiness of it all, or at least it feels messy. If we really believe that we shouldn't have those feelings of frustration, we do ourselves a disservice, that we shame ourselves, we self-shame ourselves. We tell ourselves we shouldn't feel like that, like angry or whatever. And this is a conversation point I had in last week's podcast episode called How to Homeschool Without Losing Your Mind. And first, I'd say step number 1 is accept that you are a human. You will have big emotions. They won't be conveniently timed, and you can't control them. They are things, an experience that you're having. And also in my experience, because I didn't grow up having a construct that was someone holding my emotions and allowing me to feel them, but there were big emotions around me, and I had to protect myself against them. I learned to be quiet, not say what my feelings were. I definitely did not listen to my own feelings because they scared me. And I definitely didn't like listening to other people's big feelings because they scared me too. And I learned to not listen to my feelings. And when you do that, it's an unhealthy space. We learn to stuff things, or we tell ourselves we're going to stuff them, but actually they come out in flashes of angry passion, and even we surprise ourselves. Or they can go inward and we can become depressed, because anger undealt with becomes depression, and also becomes a host of physical issues. So we have to acknowledge them. We have to acknowledge them and recognize that we're not controlling them. We're experiencing something. And just like clouds in the sky, our emotions pass. So perhaps I would encourage you, if you want to calm your emotions, is to sit with them, to actually allow yourself to fully feel them. I'm curious if you've done that. So to calm your emotions when things get rough. Always, even still, I do not like having things interrupted. There's a reason for that, going way back. But I really don't like having things interrupted. And having things interrupted with someone's complaining or they're fighting or they're whatever, definitely not. That doesn't sound fun. Except that's the reality of the homeschool mom life, is that kids have big emotions. They're having an experience of growing up and figuring out how to relate to others, and also how to express themselves in a way that mom or anyone else can understand them. That's not cutting, unkind, passive aggressive, all sorts of possibilities. And so they're growing up. They're going to have to learn how to do that, which means they'll have to have space to do that. So the goal, even though it's not fun, is to actually mentally determine that there will be moments and days, maybe just hours or minutes, where we will have to shift our focus onto helping them learn a little bit about what they need, how they need to relate, or how they need to speak, or how they need to express their emotions, or that maybe they right now need to be seen, heard, and understood. And the same is true for you as well. That I would encourage you to go to the bathroom. If you're feeling whatever big emotions that don't feel calm, go to the bathroom, get away, tell your kids, if you have the capacity to tell your kids that I need a break. I'm just going to go be by myself and help myself feel better. So go into the bathroom, take a look at yourself in the mirror, and notice what's going on in your face. Pay attention to your breath. Notice where you're feeling the intensity of your emotions in your body. As you're doing that, look deep in your eyes and ask yourself, how are you? Just like you were talking to your own best friend. How are you? What happened? Whew, that was frustrating. Yeah, it sounds like a good reason to be frustrated. No, you're not a bad mom. You had a moment. What are you going to do about it now? Or do you need to just get a hug? Just need to hear that I love you. Weird thing happens when you walk to the mirror and do stuff like that. It feels like you talked it out with another friend. Except I think it's better than talking out with another friend. I encourage you to try it and not default to talking with someone else, because it will calm you. It will help you to see you, hear you, understand you. And that is what your soul needs, is to feel seen, heard, and understood. I have many different tools to address our big emotions. This is most definitely a learned experience myself. This is really why I entered this space in the first place, was my experience or my story of overwhelm. I shared that in a book, and that kind of started my journey into coaching. It did definitely start my journey into coaching. So I could address all sorts of different big emotions. It depends on what your emotions are. I encourage you to have a conversation with me directly. When you share that, yeah, your homeschool has been interesting and downright hairy. Yeah, welcome to homeschooling. Yep, just yep. So you've got a little bit of high expectations, you said, mixed with frustration. I would love to hear what that means specifically, like what area of high expectations, because, do you mean about how you show up and you don't get angry? Do you mean about what you're expecting of the kids and how long they should do something, or how they should do something? Or, I probably would need more specifics on your high expectations. But in my early days when I was creating resources for homeschool moms, as part of the Homeschool Mama Retreat, I've created these resources in different modules. And so there was this beginning one that I had that I don't think is there anymore, but it's called Dealing with Unrealistic Expectations. And this is so cute. I had 6 points. The first one was, be realistic. Okay, I didn't realize what I was writing there. Be realistic with what you can do. Okay, so what I meant was, in my experience, I try to put so many things into my day, like so many. And at some point I realized, I don't think I can actually do everything. Why can't I do everything? I came across a time audit, and in that time audit, I was to write down everything that I did in the day all week long, which was tedious, except it really helped me because I realized, yes, indeed, it is impossible for me to do everything in the day that I want to do. I do not have enough hours. And so then I realized, oh, that was a useful activity because now I can see I only have so much time. What do I want to fill it with? Also, I need margins because I'm not doing it independently. I'm doing it with kids. And they don't do things as quickly as I do them, nor do they know where their shoes are or, their baseball bat, even though they go to baseball every week. And where the heck did it go? Anyways, it's a baseball bat. But all sorts of possible reasons why you need margins with kids. So I learned I needed margins. I needed to track my time, how much time stuff was actually taking, and also the bandwidth of how much time a child really could engage in certain academic activities. So for me, number one, dealing with unrealistic expectations is be realistic with what you can do. The second is to assume everyone won't always get along. I'll tell you, I don't like conflict, but this might be obvious. And also, I don't know very, very many people that like conflict, although there are the occasional Enneagram type 8s. Are you with me in here? Do I know any Enneagram 8s? Not that you like conflict, but you're really comfortable with it. You're totally cool when it goes down, and the rest of us are in awe at how you are totally cool with it. And as a side note, I'm discussing Enneagram on Friday. You definitely want to join me. So the third thing is that you want to honor the parenting or homeschooling season that you're in. When you deal with unrealistic expectations, you also have to look realistically at where you're at. If you have little kids that are not sleeping through the night, you probably will not be able to resume a normal homeschool routine. I totally feel you that you want to. I have been there. I am the type of person that says, and I will anyway. So I do feel you, but wildly unrealistic to expect that you're going to show up with creative things from Pinterest, or you're going to try and maintain a daily schedule where you do the same things, or you include certain activities that you were including before the baby was born, or that it's not realistic to expect that there won't be possibly increased conflict because kids are getting used to having another person in the house. And also, you have less sleep, you have less resilience. You just don't have the same emotional capacity to do the same things. And so if you're just going to say, I'm going to just barrel through it anyways, I feel you've been there, done that. But maybe give yourself a little bit of margin and just say, you know what, maybe the kids will be okay if for 6 months they don't do the exact same things we did before this next baby was born. So honor the homeschool or parenting season that you're in. There could be so many discussion points there. Some days, the fourth thought is some days you will feel like your homeschool is hijacked. Oh, I don't like those days. I really did not like those days. I would write about them on my website. I would call them those days. That's all we need to say when homeschool mom is talking to homeschool mom. I'm sorry, you're having one of those days. And we all know exactly what that means. Some days, our days really will feel hijacked. And the only thing we can do is just live into acceptance of what is and acknowledge the fact that it is an opportunity. Sorry, I'm saying this, but it's true. An opportunity for growth somehow, some way. It's compelling us to address an issue we haven't addressed, or it's calling us to grow in something. The fifth thing that I would share with you is that to deal with unrealistic expectations, you have an emotional atmosphere that needs to be attended to. And so I spoke to that earlier, so I won't speak to that at length here. But we can't pretend we're not humans that don't have needs, don't have emotions. We do. So we are going to have to expect that they will arise. And when they do, even though we're almost at the end of a math lesson. And can't we just like not have this conflict? Because I would just like to get to lunch so we can get to piano practice on time so we can, you fill in the blank. I've lived this life too. So yeah, I get it. And also your big emotions, your experiences, your emotional experiences, they are also real and you need to attend them just like you are attending to your children. And the sixth and final point that I have to dealing with your unrealistic expectations is that you also have other relationships that need attending to. And I guess you could think about this in a few different ways, but let me just say, you are in a community, even if it's not the, a specific kind of community where you think, well, we're all going to meet at the community complex or whatever place with a bunch of other people. You live in community. You don't live on the side of a mountain and never talk to a person. Coincidentally, I live on the side of a mountain and live on a homestead, and I still talk to people all the time, and also the bald eagles, the bears, and the cougars. Oh my. But you have other relationships that need to be attended to. You need to live in community. You need connection, and make sure that you include those infusing moments of connection in your week in order for you to feel like you can tolerate the frustrations and the big emotions that you've got in your homeschool mom life. So this is your big, messy, happy, not always happy homeschool reality that you too, homeschool mama, have big emotions. You get frustrated, and you definitely need to stop and address what's going on in here so you can be kind to yourself. I hope that that was useful for you. And if you'd like to join me in a conversation, let me know. If anybody else has any more wisdom that they'd like to share, I would love to hear your thoughts, because I do know how much is in this group and you have much to contribute to it. Let me see here. So yes, join me for the Enneagram workshop on Friday at 10 a.m. I have a free training on addressing big emotions, on specifically what it's titled. I cannot remember right now, but it is all about dealing with your frustrations. And if you like that free training, also let me know in the comments below, or if you're interested in that thought care checklist. And I hope everybody is having a really lovely week. As I say on the podcast, I hope you can turn all your homeschool challenges into your homeschool charms. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.